So thank you so much for sitting down and taking the time to talk to us today. So I have a few questions about more of the technical aspects of directing. So my first one is, when you got your script and you read it for the first time, what were some of the things that you read and that you thought about it that really pulled you towards it?
Well, I guess from a filmmaking standpoint, the idea of trying to tell a story from a child's perspective was super interesting to us. I mean, in our imaginations at that point, quite challenging, and proved to be quite challenging, but the kind of challenge that we were interested in.
Because it was based off of the child's perspective, did you have to completely rethink anything when you first went into it and tried something and you're like, oh no, we can't do this isn't right?
Well, that's an interesting question, because it was a kind of learning process throughout the making of the movie. And it wasn't so much trying things and then figuring out that they didn't work. It was trying things and being surprised how well they worked, I think, was the surprise, because we lucked into having a really great little girl.
Mm-hmm.
That, when we started the process, we didn't know who would play Maisie. In fact, we didn't know until about 3 weeks before we were shooting who would play Maisie. And once we had her on set and had her in front of the camera and we were watching what she was capable of, it kept allowing us to kind of push the envelope a little bit further and tell more and more of the story really on her face, kind of as she's reacting to things and kind of experiencing the story around her.
Mm-hmm. And was it difficult because of her age, or did it kind of just work seamlessly?
Well, and there are challenges working with a 6-year-old, to be sure, like the shorter working days, for example, and to be honest, she required a lot less special handling than we were really prepared for. She was very intuitive and very well prepared.
Yeah.
Like a lot of 6-year-olds, if we weren't really focused on Anata, then her attention would drift more. But if she was required to be the center of something, if she were on in a way, that was never really an issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was the one thing that as soon as I watched it, I texted everyone and I was just like, you have to watch this little girl, she's amazing.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, no. I've promoted this movie so much with my friends and family. But so my last question is, was there any one particular moment while working on this film that was that one moment that you're like, I'll never forget this, that one outstanding moment of production?
This isn't going to sound so extraordinary, but there's a moment at the beginning of the movie in the credit sequence where you see, it's an extended credit sequence, and you see Maisie making herself, she's alone in the apartment, she's making herself a peanut butter sandwich.
I've seen that
very
part, yeah.
early in the movie, right. So she finishes and she puts the knife down and she looks at her fingers and she realizes she's gotten peanut butter on her fingers. So she just licks her fingers and sort of goes on her way. Well, that wasn't scripted. It wasn't scripted for her to lick her fingers, and that's the kind of thing that trips up actors all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But Anata is so present when she's performing that she had peanut butter on her fingers, so she needed to clean her fingers with her tongue. And everyone in the room was just looked at her, and not at her, but watching her. We just looked at each other in amazement.
Yeah. Well, I can tell that you guys had fun doing it, and I could tell just watching the movie that it was a fun experience. So, what Maisie knew, watch it. It's awesome. Check out my review.